Good morning, children. In today's video, we will cover the concept of consumer responsibilities. Now, in my previous video, I had covered the concept of consumer rights. Consumer rights basically refers to the powers that a consumer has to protect himself, right? Now, we will cover the concept of consumer responsibilities, which is basically the duties that a consumer has. Let's come to the first responsibility. The first responsibility is that the consumer must exercise his rights. Now, a consumer must be educated or aware about his rights, and at the same time, he must also exercise his rights. Exercise his rights means that he should also use his rights. So, whenever there is any unfair trade practice or whenever there is any exploitation that the consumer is facing, then he should just not sit back and relax. Rather, he should use or exercise his rights for his benefit. The second responsibility of a consumer is that he should be a cautious consumer. A consumer should not blindly trust the seller or the advertisements that are coming on television. He should first look at the label of the goods and understand all related information of the product before deciding to purchase the product. Many times sellers try to push the goods and exaggerate the features of the good. So, a consumer should not be blindly carried away by these claims. Rather, he should do his own scrutiny or check before purchasing the product. Next is a consumer should file a complaint for redressal of genuine grievances. Now over here, let's just quickly understand the meaning of a grievance. A grievance is basically any wrong that a consumer has suffered. Right. So first of all, a consumer should not ignore any defect in the product. And secondly, whenever he is filing a complaint for a defect in the product, then he should not also exaggerate the loss. That is, he should not make a mountain out of a mole. So for example, if the loss requires a compensation of say 100 rupees, then he should not exaggerate it and say that no, the loss requires a compensation of say rupees 1 crore. Right. The next responsibility of a consumer is that the consumer must himself also be quality conscious. A consumer should always look for quality marks like ISI, ISO, AG mark, wool mark, etc. before purchasing a product. Now, what are the different types of quality marks? That I will cover in another video. Currently, I have written ISI and AG mark, so I'll discuss them. ISI is basically a quality mark that we find on durable products, for example, electronic goods. Right? And AG mark is a quality mark that we find on agricultural product or livestock related products. Coming to the next responsibility, a consumer should not be carried away by advertising. Usually, while advertising a product, a producer always exaggerates the features of the product. Now, whenever a consumer is using a product and feels that there is any discrepancy means any difference between the features shown in an advertisement and the actual features of the product, then it is the responsibility of the consumer to bring this to the notice of the sponsor. Now, who is a sponsor? Sponsor is basically the person who is running the advertisement. So, for example, you see an advertisement for a bike which shows a greater mileage on, say, a news channel. Right? And when you purchase the bike and the bike does not give the same amount of mileage, then this should be brought to the notice of the news channel that is running the advertisement. It is the news channel's responsibility to maybe stop running of the advertisement, right? But it is the consumer's responsibility to bring the false advertisement to the notice of the sponsor as well as the producer. Next responsibility of the consumer is that he should insist on a cash memo. Cash memo basically means the bill for the product. Why is this bill necessary? Because later on, if suppose the product is defective in any manner and the consumer wants to file a case in the district forum or the state commission or national commission, then evidence of purchase will be required. This evidence of purchase is available in the form of the cash memo with the consumer, right? So the consumer should not always feel that I will save tax and I will not insist on cash memo. Saving a little bit of tax today may lead to a higher problem later, right? The next responsibility of a consumer is that he should form consumer societies. Now, what is the role of consumer societies? Consumer societies basically educate consumers regarding their rights and responsibilities. The greater the awareness, the greater the number of consumers who will be exercising their rights. And lastly, one more responsibility of the consumer is that he should respect the environment. He should in no manner pollute the environment or create any kind of environmental degradation. Right? So these are the consumer responsibilities that you need to learn from your board exam point of view.